morning, everyone. Welcome to 20 Series 5 with the topics of new technology in seafood packaging and processing. For your information, in this webinar series, we will have 1 hour talks and 15 minutes for the Q&A sections. And there will be a simple crossing ceremony at the end. There will be also live streamings on YouTube, and the links have been provided in the chat box. You can ask questions along the talk in the chat box window. The attendance and the survey links will be provided at the end of sessions, and the link will be closed in 30 minutes after the event ends. Before we start, can we hear the voice of our respected speaker, Professor Chow Hong Nong?
Yes.
Good morning, Prof. Thank you for joining us today, Prof. Before I pass the time to you, please allow me to introduce you to our audience.
Okay.
Prof. Chow graduated from Bachelor degree of Botany in 1975. In 1977, Prof. Chow graduated from the same university in Master degree of Marine Biology and Fishery. In 1986, Prof. Chow completed his PhD degree in Pharmaceutical Science. His research interests are algae biotechnology and natural product chemistry, where isolations of bioactive compounds of marine organisms through chromatographic separations. A little bit about Prof. Chow's working experience. From 1980, he started to work at Department Pharmacognosys and Environmental Health Science, University of Rhode Island in USA as a teaching assistant, then followed by postdoc fellows. From 1987, Prof. Chow worked at National Taiwan University as adjunct associate professor at Department of Aquaculture. Then from 2019 until lifetime, he was honored with Professor Emeritus of that university. Currently, Prof. Chow is working as a professor in Xiamen University, Malaysia in Marine Biotechnology program. Prof. Chow received his first research honor through the New England Regional Medicinal Chemistry and Pharmacognosy in 1985. Then he gained an award of 2012 ITEX Gold Medal in Agriculture, Malaysia International Inventions, Innovations and Technologies Exhibitions. In 2018, Prof. Chow was honored with Prize of the Nations Academic Award for Outstanding International Achievement by the Taiwan International Inventions Award Business Association. In addition, Prof. Chow authored and co-authored 83 primary papers, 3 book chapters, 2 books, and 150 research documents. He had presented in 200 invited lectures, keynotes, and plenary speakers in conferences, universities, and institutes. And now, I will pass the time to you, Prof. Chow.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for your kind introduction.
Welcome.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay. Prof. can try to share the screen. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, Dr. Moon, and
Yes.
all the audience. I cannot see you, but I think you can hear me. Well, I'm very honored to be a speaker here in this meeting. Well, this is my first experience live talk in such kind of communication style. So, well, not so easy. Okay. Well, well, you have known that I'm not expert or a scientist or engineer in the food science or biotechnology. So I just because I have the duty to teach something like seafood processing, aquatic food processing in Xiamen University, Malaysia. So I've looked into some of the stories about the seafood processing. So also go through some review about the new technologies in seafood processing and the packaging. So it comes this contents of this lecture. So I'd like to share with my review of the stories here with you. Probably you are all expert, more expert, British than I. So the introduction here as a seafood, as the title of our talk, according to the BIM, that's the border of Ireland fishery agency, wrote a book, and also the Wikipedia regarding the definition of seafood is any form of sea life regarded as food by human that for human utilization as a food. So all the sea life possibly. So except some of the animals such as the coral, sponge that we cannot use. Most of the lives, especially those who has muscles, fleshes for our food. So mostly those are from animals. Could be divided into fin fish and the shellfish. And the shellfish, the fin fish may be bony fish, also some cartilaginous fish. And also we may divide into different categories of this fish and the shellfish to include the molluscs, crustaceans, and the echinoderms. But still, we cannot forget these sea vegetables, the seaweeds. Although the word looks like a plant, right, seaweed, but the seaweed or algae in the ocean, they are not plants actually, according to the taxonomy here. So we probably call it vegetables because almost all the seaweed or algae can be used as a food, except some toxic ones like red tide, phytoplanktons. Otherwise, all the seaweeds can be consumed as a food. So, well, this looks very complicated. So just the division of the categories here. So the seafood totally called as a fish, maybe a broader definition of fish or the seafood, including the fin fish and the shellfish. Both has fish, okay, and well, most of the shellfish, crustacean, mollusca, actually they are not. The shellfish used here is not the taxonomic, definitions, and the fin fish we may divide into the white fish and the oil-rich fish, or we can say the white meat fish or the red red meat fish, right? Probably you all learned of this, and well, and also the fish also can be divided into demersal fish and the pelagic fish, or the pelagic fish also called the migratory fish. So the migratory fish will become the red meat fish and the oil-rich fish. Of course, it depends on the species of the fish. They may be very rich and to different extent. And the white fish has white meat, so less oil, and less so-called hemoglobin, or then or myoglobin. So it's white meat. They don't swim a lot, but for the migratory fish, they have to swim, so they contains a lot of oil to support the energy. Also, they need oxygen. So the blood, the hemoglobin, also the myoglobin, are rate and distributed in everywhere in the meat to support the contraction of muscles. And well, on the right side, we can see the univalve molluscus, what we call the snail or the whelk, and the bivalve molluscus are the most we can see with two shells, and the cephalopod, and well. So from this graph shows the global fishery production from 1980 to 2020, estimated value to see the trends. So the capture production has reached a plateau, as this light blue one, but we can see the total production, fishery production is increasing due to the increase of aquaculture production, especially in the recent years, due to the growth of the human population. So the market demand is so high, and we cannot catch more, even we put a lot of effort to catch, the fish from the ocean, but still we need the aquaculture to support. But within the aquaculture, you can see from here, the marine aquaculture, we can divide this, the trends of the growth of different type of, different groups of fish or finfish. The marine is just a little bit, as we said, because the human consumption, the demand is high, and the natural resources cannot supply enough. So we needed aquaculture. And from this graph, we know the freshwater aquaculture is much more than the marine aquaculture. And especially the aquaculture species must be utilized as aquatic food species. Okay, so you have to put more effort and all the cost onto the aquaculture. Okay, not like natural resources. You just go and with the vessels and to catch it. So it's a different production methods. So those freshwater aquaculture animals should not be excluded from seafood. Okay, and here these pictures as exclude the aquatic plants as the data in FAO. This data from FAO. So in the in a broader sense, they categorize the seafood or aquatic food to include all the fresh water and the marine water fish or finfish and shellfish. Okay, and some of the basic general characteristic of the seafood, they are highly nutritious. Okay, the basic nutrients is the protein. They are rich in the protein. Above 15% to 20% is quite high among other protein resources. And the lipid is not so high, but it contains unsaturated omega-3 fatty acid. And the carbohydrate is quite low, so it's a food to avoid obesity. Okay, they have some trace vitamins. Also important is the minerals, and they are rich in minerals because most of them are living in water and in the ocean or in this fresh water, and the water has so many different minerals accumulated in the water and then pass through the food chain, through the primary producer, then the consumers to different zooplankton and also fish. Then we acquire the minerals from those animals. So they are because the source is so rich in the water, so we can get the minerals from there. So regarding the seafood proteins, is high. Also, they are good proteins. It's also here as perfect proteins. Why? The essential amino acid easily digestible amino acid composition similar to human tissue, especially the ratio of the essential amino acid and the non-essential amino acid are quite similar to the human tissue. So, as what we have seen, the Barrow's theory of the rules of the minimum. So the essential fatty acid, amino acid, determines the nutrient value, and fish contains a lot of essential amino acids, so almost complete. So it's a perfect protein. Seafood lipids, low content, are rich in unsaturated fatty acid in the ratio comparing with the saturated fatty acid. They are rich. So especially the omega-3 fatty acid, the Noraini acid, also the EPA polyunsaturated acid, EPA DHA. This is fatty acid, very good health supplements. Okay, they also contains a lot of functional components, like taurine is a feed attractant, dipeptide like carnosine, anserine, and betanin, which is a kind of a flavor of the fish, especially the scramble fish, and they also from the cartilage, they contains collagen, cartilage, chitin, and the chitosan from the shellfish, and the oligopeptides. They are all functional to our health related. And fish, different type of the fish contains different nutrition values or the contents of different nutrients. So also different species or different portion of the fish or the fish caught in different season, especially the migratory fish. So there's a lot of diversity of the nutrient composition in fish. Okay, this is general characters of the fish. And from here you can see the seafood, the global per capita food consumption by food category. The seafood is quite high among the meat, poultry meat, and also pig meat or beef. Okay, so seafood is the highest among the meat protein. The other than those plant resources, and here the percentage share in total protein intake, okay, from seafood in Malaysia is quite high, 12% among all total proteins intake, and 24% from animals. Is above the average in the world. And also here, the consumption of fish and the shellfish category per capita. Malaysia is the second to Japan. Japan probably is the first, the most, highest amount of consumption of fish and the shellfish. Malaysia is the second. Of course, due to the people here, they don't eat pork mostly for Muslim and some Buddhist. They don't eat cow, so most of the meat is from chicken and fish, poultry. So that's why the number is so high among. That means in Malaysia we have rich resources of fishery products, and that's why also import a lot of seafood for consumptions in Malaysia too. So there's a great potential for seafood processing industry to develop in Malaysia. Okay, and the general characteristics of seafood we are going to talk here regarding the seafood processing and the packaging. Mostly is for the food safety and the preservation concern. First, we like to have a safe food to eat, and we also hope that the fish material, the the source material can be preserved a longer shelf life for consumption. Okay. But there's fact in the fish. First is the autolytic enzymatic changes in fish. Usually the live fish is the most freshness. When you take the live fish, it's always fresh, the best. Okay, and once the fish died, it start to degrade through the autolytic enzyme change. It's the the foodborne enzymes. So there's glycolytic enzymes, the substrate here, and the effect produce what. And here we list the adverse effect of actually through the autolytic process. Usually we call the meat aging of the meat. For some time, some of the products are good, like this inosine monophosphate is the flavor agent of the seafood. But those enzymes continuously to digest proteins like this cathepsin trips or protease. They have different names. This enzyme can cut different parts of the amino acid, okay, and can cause the degradation of different tissue or different protein structures, and to produce like TMA or this hypoxanthine, okay. Those are indicators of the bed or the decomposing shellfish, decomposing the seafood, and especially these are belly bursting because they produce gas, and which can burst the belly of the fish, softening the muscles. So even the formaldehyde production that can be toxic to the human health. So this will happen automatically by the enzyme reaction inside the flesh or the meat, the muscle of the fish. And also, the fish skin is so thin, and they are living in the water environment. Some of the water environment is not so clean and rich in the bacteria. So very easily get contamination from the environmental bacteria or through the intestine, the water they drink, the fish drink, and also the adhere bacteria on the surface of the fish, and especially the fish has very thin skin, and some of them very fragile scale, and easily take off, so the bacteria can penetrate into the flesh, both from inside out is through the intestine. So when fish died, those bacteria can start to grow because some of the self-defense mechanism inside the tissue disappeared due to the stop of anabolism, only the catabolism. So we list this different type of microorganism which involved in the high sporage activity or moderate. Okay, and the bacterial sporage compounds usually can cause the flavor but the worst is the biogenic amines. Usually turns out to be totally putrefactions, totally bad. But before that, through this TMA production, it gives a better smell, and what the volatile basic nitrogen, like ammonia, and some of the acid, aldehyde acid ketones through this glycolysis. So that's why the sporage compounds give the best flavor of the spoiled fish. So from here, we know the faster rigor mortis, the fish after they die, they turn out to be hardened very fast. And then through the autolytic enzyme spoilage and the microbial spoilage, and in contact with the oxygen in the air, especially those fish after capture, they exposed under the sun, on the deck of the vessels, fishing boat. So the fish get oxidative spoilage easily through the oxygen in the air and the UV light. Okay. So we need a seafood preservation, right? And we need a seafood processing and the packaging to preserve the fish for a longer shelf life or for the freshness. This is different things. But for longer shelf life, of course, we want to keep the freshness of the fish. Then we needed the cold temperature or cool temperature, low temperature, including refrigeration and the frozen, two methods for the freshness. Other conventional techniques for the seafood processing, like curing, sorting, smoking, drying, pickling, canning, some of them already cooked or changed the style, the texture, the flavor already. So those are not for the freshness purpose, only for the preservation purpose. Okay, and several methodology developed recently as a novel techniques, including high pressure freezing and thawing, or high pressure processing, pulse electric field, ultrasound irradiation, intense pulse light, and ohmic heating, microwave. Those processing can help for this, to stop or retard the microbial growth. So in that case, we can keep the shelf life longer. So we have now we start with this the freshness keeping, one of the frozen technology, but among the frozen we have new technology developed. Even this is quite convention, but not so old than the drying methods or sorting methods that has been practiced a long time ago. After catch, you dry the seafood under the sun with the wind blow. Then you will dry the fish, seafood, and to preserve it for a longer time. But now we have a technology, to during the freezing, we can keep the fish fresh as freshness as long as possible. So the freezing method, of course, they can stop the enzyme reaction. The enzyme reaction slow down, as the temperature goes down, and the low temperature also retard bacterial growth. So these two approach can keep the fish freshness after they die. As we can see, usually, and they put crushed ice or slurry ice to preserve the fresh fish, not frozen or not freezing, just to also slow the autolysis and retard the bacterial growth. But some of the nutrient may drip out with the ice. So the texture or the flavor may change and reduce the freshness. But now with the rapid freezing technologies, and in addition to some other treatment, as a high pressure freezing, ultrasonic assisted freezing, those are freezing method, and assisted by other method. We can put the electric conductivity there, the electrically disturbed freezing, or the magnetically disturbed freezing methods, the microwave assisted freezing, or can help more or less, but the best one in the theory is to keep the ice nucleation, less, or stop the ice to form. Okay, then it's called supercooling. So the supercooling, that means we keep the water in the seafood remain as water even below the melting point. So in that case, we can keep the cells looks alive. Okay, actually, some of the muscle or the cells we can keep alive. We put it in the anti-freezer, glycerol or something, which cannot form the ice crystal inside the cell or between the cell, so we can keep the cells alive, for medical purpose, especially the stem cell. But now we are talking about the food preservation. If we can keep the muscles of the fish, the seafood, the flesh, without the damage of the cells, then we can keep the freshness here. So the ice nucleation here is very important because the ice can grow bigger and bigger, and they probably can rupture the cell membrane and cause the nutrient leaching. Okay, and also here, this, for high pressure freezing, we can see very complex the arrows on this page, like this ice nucleation. With the high pressure freezing, they are enhanced. Okay, and also the super cooling degree also enhanced here with the color difference. The ice nucleation also for ultrasonic assisted freezing. Okay, for the direct current electrically freezing, this is ice nucleation is enhanced, but the supercooling here is decreasing. Okay, for the alternative current, the ice nucleation is compressed, but the supercooling is enhanced. Degree of the supercooling is enhanced, and for the magnetic disturbance, up and down, so it's quite controversial. The science experience shows their ice nucleation decrease, but some experience shows increase. So we'll talk there later. And regarding another one is osmo dehydro freezing method. Now very common in so many fruits we can see, or vegetables. Okay, we use oil, we use sugar or salt through the osmotic regulation, and we dehydrate it through the freezing dry method, and we can easily remove the water, reduce the water activity, so we can preserve the vegetable fruits. But it's not for the fish, because the seafood contains too much of water in there, so it's not that useful for this method on the seafood. Okay, first we explain the isonucleation and the supercooling. The ice crystal, the formation and the growth need nuclei. That means need the seeds. When ice crystals expand the volume of water, when ice start to form, the volume actually expanded. You can see the density reduced, so the ice always float on the water, right? Even the water reached 0 degree, but the ice is still floating. and expand the volume, okay, to grow bigger and bigger, and then the crystal of the ice can rupture the cell membranes and cause nutrient loss in dripping during thawing, and make air cavities between the tissue, and the air cavity will invite oxidation of lipids. They'll trap the air, and the oxygen in the air will oxidize the lipids, especially those lipid-rich flesh of migratory fish. And also the fish contains a lot of polyunsaturated fatty acid, so they are easily oxidized or peroxidized. And also due to the water in the cells or in the flesh, they start to form the ice crystal, reduce the water as a solvent to the salt soluble in the water. So the salt concentration will increase, and then the salt will denature the proteins dissolved in the water in the cells. So all these things will happen, spoiled, or we say, change, discoloration or texture changed due to the ice crystal formation. This is very common if you put the meat in your freezer for a long time. You can see the surface is completely dehydrated. Okay, it becomes uneatable. And what is the supercooling? It is the process of chilling the water. Well, the actual definition is a liquid, the process of chilling a liquid and below its freezing point without it becoming solid. Okay, now we change the liquid and the solid into the water in seafood. The seafood always contains water, right? Around 75% of water. And through the drop of the temperature, if they reach the freezing point and even below the freezing point of the water, that means the 0 degree, without forming the ice from the water, then we call it supercooling. That means the water remains water liquid inside the food, inside the seafood, without the ice crystal formation. So if we take out the nuclei, so no ice can form. But it is almost impossible unless you have a demineralized water, demineralized water, very pure water. You put it in the freezer, even the upper cabinet, even below 18 degree or minus 20 degree, still remain as water. But with a vibration or with a shock to the wall, well, it freeze right away. You can see a lot of YouTube showing this amazing, experience. You just hit the bottle of water below 20 degree or below 18 degree from the freezer, then it start to freeze right away. So in the flesh of seafood, you can consider there are so many salt in there, so many particles also are suspended in the cells. So they are always, seeds for ice crystal formation. It's inevitable. But how to keep that without any ice to form? So and to lower the the temperature without the freezing without the ice formation is called the supercooling. And how we can expand the degree of supercooling, then we can have a larger difference of the equilibrium freezing point and to the temperature at which ice nucleation first occur. So if we keep the supercooling temperature, the degree of supercooling larger, then the change of the crystal formation will be fast, will be very fast. So in that case, we can prevent some ice nucleation formation, or the ice nucleation formed in a very fine structure, and they can grow bigger, cannot grow bigger. So that also can, to help. Okay. So this is a typical time temperature profiles of water during freezing and the supercooling process. Here we have the temperature on the vertical and the line on the horizontal axial. So the temperature starts to drop below the freezing point, and the red line shows the freezing. Actually, the water start from the ice, but now it drops to below freezing point, still in water.
Okay dah sekarang.
Sorry, question for me? Good. Yeah.
No, nothing. Can proceed from. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Well, still in the liquid form, we call the supercooling at these portions. So the degree of supercooling is the difference between the freezing and the ice nucleation path. So when the ice nucleation starts, they will bring the temperature back to the freezing point, will raise up. Okay, the temperature will raise up. Then again, if we have removed the latent heat, then the cooling of the solid will continue to go on. Then this cooling will form the ice as a glass. That's the name we call it. Okay, this is the enthalpy here, and we have the temperature up, higher temperature here. So the liquid, and after the melting point, it becomes a supercooled liquid at this blue line. But once they have the ice nucleation, ice formed, then the crystal formed start from here. And also the ice nucleation also in the supercooled liquid, they start from here. So they form the glass style ice. The crystal is a tiny one, but the glass is the like cubic, the hydrogen bonding of the water molecule between the crystal, they start to aggregate to form a very rigid type. Is called the glass. So the glass formation needs lower temperature. Okay, this is a graph from the food science biotechnology this year. The supercooling preservation technology in food and biological samples. A review focused on the electric and the magnetic field applications. Okay, this was published from the University of Hawaii. You can see the remove of the sensible heat, so the temperature drops. Okay, then the degree of supercooling is between the temperature freezing and the ice nucleation. The equilibrium freezing point is here. Then you remove the sensible heat. Then it will forms another type of solid. So this is the extension of supercooling period in the blue line. But this just to explain the the scenario or the phenomenon happens during the cooling system. So if you have supercooling at a lower temperature to form the ice nucleation, so they will bring the entire body of the flesh of the fish temperature drops so fast. So with the supercooling conditions, we can have the rapid freezing situation happen here. This fast remove of the heat. So this is the design by the same group of researchers led by you, and is a supercooling preservation and quality of beef steak. They designed a magnetic field and also electrode for the using alternative current to have the the current pass through, and alternatively, as you can see the direction. So in that case, there will be a vibration happened, and the vibration will enhance the ice nucleation, but keep the nucleation in a small size. So the supercooling preservation of quality, we using this picture to show our fresh meat, beef here, and if we just refrigerate it at 5 degree, 4 degree, or 7 degree for some time, we get the color change discoloration, but no dripping. Looks like still fresh, but the color changed, and it's due to the myoglobin changed to denatured, changed to the metaforms. We denatured the myoglobin, so the color changed. But if we put into a supercooled freezing conditions, okay, and then bring it back to the normal temperature, and this is the slow freezing. Okay, we can see a lot of dripping waters. Those are caused by the breakdown, rupture of the cells, and bring out the waters, including the amino acid, protein dissolving it, and vitamins and salt also. So we'll get the texture changed of the meat, and for this rapid freezing due to the supercooled or just by something like liquid air, liquid nitrogen, liquid carbon dioxide, the fast freezing temperature can reach. So the entire block of the meat will reach the frozen temperature fast. So this also can improve. So the supercool condition, freezing condition, and the rapid freezing is related. As we can see, the supercool actually you get below the freezing temperature. It's not from the zero gradually down. Okay, this is slow freezing. So still remain in the water conditions. It's not freezing, so the cells are not ruptured, and actually it's below the freezing point. Okay, in that case, suddenly a frozen state reached, just like the rapid freezing technology here. So stories about cells alive systems, CAS, is a freezer invented by or manufactured by API company in Japan. And by using the electromagnetic field and the mechanical vibration, it's patented. So a lot of information cannot obtained. And that's why we can see from the previous slide about a laboratory made, it's a scheme, a drawing scheme to show the conditions to have the electromagnetic field together, okay? And to have this mechanical vibration, the invented freezer can prevent the ice crystallization. Actually, it's not. The ice nucleation is still there, but the ice crystal is very small, so as to preserve the cell from ruptures during frozen state, and thus to improve the flesh quality. Is this case. The technology preserve the freshness of fish muscle. Is this the cells alive system? And the freshness is the key factor to keep the extreme umami of seafood. This is the fifth sensation of our, we say something delicious, very excellent. The taste and the flavor, we call it the umami. Okay. Without the crystal rupture the cell, so they can locking down the freshness, moisture, and the nutrient of the fish flesh. Okay, this is the principle here, the ordinary frozen process for the molecule before the frozen, and with this frozen process, frozen status, so the big ice formed and they rupture the cell membrane and leak of the waters when after thawing. But with this cells alive system, the water molecule before frozen is like this, and the freezing process, they form small ice crystal. So they cannot grow into a bigger size by weak vibration, and instantly frozen of the food. Also because of the small ice and can bring the temperature down right away because it is under certain instance of supercooling conditions. Okay, so the entire flesh is frozen, and after thawing, well, there's no rupture. And here we can see the tuna fish. This is ordinary frozen. After thawing, you can see the tissue, the meat, and a lot of space formed because of the breakdown of the cells, but not this one, or the cell remain intact in these portions. And then there's no dripping of the thawing of the meat. So the ABI already they established in 1989. They as manufactures so many types. It's a batch type, and also a freezer combined with storage cabinet. There's magnetic and electromagnetic field inside the freezer of low temperature, and the freezing showcase for supermarket with oscillating harmonic system. This is the CAS system. CAS system with oscillating harmonic system. They put another name, and this is from the Alibaba web page. The company doesn't have any web page. They use Alibaba to sell. This is the kind of Japanese style. Japanese invent very nice things, but they never export the best, the newly invention to the world. They have to utilize and improve the products for a long time, maybe 20, 30 years before they want to export. Always ask for the perfect conditions. But now, after 30 years, they start to sell. Even they can retrofit the cats to the existing tunnel freezers or the warehouse, just to build another, in within the older system with the new design of this harmonic oscillating system. Yeah. Okay, semi-conclusion. I think I don't have time to go on further. This is just a semi-conclusion for this. One of the, I think, is the best design using the vibration in the electric field and the magnetic field. Okay, and the static, as what we mentioned, is direct current and the oscillating. Of course, they're using alternative current to create these oscillation conditions. And the magnetic also, if a static magnet, those the align water molecules and enhance hydrogen bond, and this can strengthen or weaken hydrogen bonds of water. So it depends on the experience design. So from other researchers, later on, after the review or some of the papers developed of that in the recent years, they have a different results. This reduced the supercooling time. Okay, but some experience shows it increased the ice nucleation, and some say it suppressed or compressed the ice nucleation. So no significant on supercooling degree. This improved the supercooling degree, and under this vibration oscillating conditions suppress nucleation, but highly controversial, like this one. Okay, this to the nucleation, but mechanism vibrate and reorientation water molecule, and they improve the supercooling by disturbing the energy and larger degree of supercooling. So it looks like there's no rules, but I think there are a lot of parameters you can choose. So if different parameters you choose, then it comes out the different results. So I think there's still a lot of experiment to be done. Okay, and this CAS system also now is applied for this medical purpose, for stem cell preservation. Usually we have to put anti-freezer in there, but sometimes the anti-freezer will interfere with further utilization of these stem cells, or the organs. We want to keep the transplant organs frozen, in a live state for a long time, for certain period of time. That means in seafood concern is the shelf life, right? We want to keep the freshness like a live fish. I said the live fish is the best, the most freshness of the seafood. So people try to develop things to maintain this cells alive system for the storage. That's the semi-conclusion here. And well, the novel techniques are like high pressure freezing, storing, high pressure processing, pulse electric field, and ultrasound. But it's not not new. Actually, it has been studied for a long time, but still yet commercialized or put into the market to practice this different system, because they probably consuming a lot. There's only one purpose, is antimicrobial, and the antimicrobial purpose can be prevented or to be supported by cooking, right? any cook can do that. Okay, and another conventional methods used for preservation for longer shelf life usually depends on the antimicrobial processing here. So, so no wonder it is less development, not as the previous one. Previous one is as a goal to get the live fish freshness. Okay, also try to keep the flesh in life. That can be for the medical applications and not only. And the price of the system of API, the CAS system is very expensive. You can see from through the Alibaba's webpage, the price of different design so expensive. Not too many can buy it, but now it's on the market to the world, and only the tuna fish can afford this kind of price. Those the cheap fish, it's almost no need to keep the freshness. It's not worth to buy such a machine to keep the freshness of it. So many other conventional methods can do it. I don't know, Dr. Boone, should I go on? Hello?
Yes, Prof. Prof, do you still have a lot to share with us?
Oh, only 1/3 of it.
Only 1/3. Maybe I still have two or three.
I can give the files to you, if anyone wants to go over. And well, here, the first one, high pressure freezing, is just, more or less similar to the previous, what we are talking about, the supercooling and the ice nucleation, because the high pressure freezing or high pressure assisted freezing, high pressure shift freezing technology, all as in the category as high pressure freezing, which can enhance ice nucleation, but the small and the fine structure of ice crystal promote a degree of supercooling. So all this can produce the result of rapid freezing and thawing and the smaller ice crystals, minimum drippings. Okay, the result is similar to those supercooling system, because if you change the pressure, you will lower the freezing temperature or the melting point. Like we add the salt or add the polymers into the solution to enhance the osmotic pressure. So then the rest, including this one, all the research has been focused is not on this dripping, on the texture concerns, are on the antimicrobial. This antimicrobial is the way to preserve the food for long term, not the freshness. But there's so many alternative processing can take over. So the development of this technology is not in fast progressing, and no commercial products applied, because high pressure will take a huge machine. You cannot operate a huge, huge products in the same time. Only small to have the pressure produced in, because it's high, about 2000 atm, atmospheric pressure. So 2000 times or even higher, the pressure of this in a normal pressure. So it takes a heavy instrument to do that. Okay, only by experiment. So the following are all done by the experiment. And this is explain the high pressure freezing and the thawing due to the pressure will change, drop the melting point or the freezing point. So in that case, it create supercooling conditions, right? And this is just a normal explanation. And the water has a spatial triple point here. And regarding the ice, so this part, the 0 point with 1 atm is zero temperature for the ordinary ice nucleation. And when they reach here, during this change, the temperature changed because under the pressure, pressure raised to 2000 atm. So the freezing point changed. And to form the ice 3 is the glass type of ice. When it start to form the ice nucleation here, then the temperature drops a lot. So it's kind of a theory of a supercooling, and the lower the ice formations temperature. So in that case, the result is similar. Okay, this is other than the antimicrobial, but it is due to using the pressure we can inactivate the microbial growth. Some of the cells under this kind of pressure will die. So of course they may also change some of the texture of the fish muscles. Yeah. Some examples. There's no time. The most of the result is the frozen storage, and if under the frozen storage, actually, you don't need too much to care about the antimicrobial activity. Because under this kind of frozen temperature, the bacteria cannot expand too much, but the spore may still remain. And during the thawing stage, the spore may germinate, and during the thawing, the fish flesh also decomposed. If in that case, otherwise, doesn't help too much, to preserve the fish. But the most of the work in the following, especially this high pressure processing, not too much help. And also they cannot preserve, like supercooling, to preserve the texture of the cells in the tissues. Well, this one is easier because they just using ordinary high pressure processing to treat the instrument to treat the fish. Only 15%. Most of them are using for the meat and vegetables. You see, so heavy to a tiny point. So the pressure is so high, can break down the cells. Also, the bacteria and the fungi. But then, no doubt, some of the tissue cells of the fish, the seafood, is also damaged.
I'm sorry, Pro, because now we are, yeah, the time is about to.
Yes,
yeah.
I know.
If you're not mind, are you willing to share with us the slides so that I can share with those? Yeah, thank you so much, Pro. So it is such an information and interesting talk, and we all know that the seafood is an important source of protein, vitamins, minerals, fats, and it ranked third among the food categories with the fastest overall growth worldwide. However, the freshly seafood easily undergo nutritional and sensory quality changes as a result of the faster rigor mortis, the oxidative spoilage, autolysis, and the microbial activity. And thank you so much, Prof, because you are giving us an insight into the recent advancement in the processing and packaging of seafood. And I'm interested on the cell alive freezing by using the Japan technologies. It's very amazing. So now we are going to the Q&A section, Prof.
Okay.
So for the audience who have questions, feel free to drop the question in the chat box, and whoever want to ask question, feel free to open your mic. So let's go through the chat box. We have a few questions. The first question for Prof is, a lot of people is having allergy towards seafood. Do we have any technologies or processing methods that can help in reducing the allergic reaction?
Well, the allergy from the seafood usually from the scombroid fish, right? And because they contains high amount of histidine, and if we preserve the seafood well, no bacteria will enhance the change of histidine to histamine. Okay. And actually, histamine is also a neurotransmitter in our body. We always have that in our system. But if through food we get too much of that, that will cause the problems, allergy symptoms, because of the histamine, existing histamine. It's not like other proteins allergen, to bring you the immune response. Okay, histamine is the later form of the immunoprotection, innate immune response. It's produced by our body that causes the inflammation. But now if you take too much of histamine due to the histidine degradation by the bacteria, and the histidine-rich fish is also oil-rich fish, decomposed so easily. So you can just avoid to take this type of fish, or you have to take it very fresh forms as sashimi, raw consumption, because they must be preserved very well. No bacteria, of course. The bacteria count according to the sanitation rules, it has to be 1 degree less than the ordinary meat. In that case, you just like you have to avoid the peanut for some person, or gluten, something like allergen existing.
Yeah, maybe we can make some research on how to create some technology on how to testing the histamine in the food before we try the food. For those are sensitive with allergy with such food.
To remove the histamine, well, we can take the medicine, antihistamine,
Okay.
to counterbalance histamine in the food.
Okay. So I think Prof already answered the question for the allergic questions. So we go to the second question. Thanks for a nice presentation, Prof. Based on your observations in Malaysia or other countries, do you think that the technologies that you have mentioned are currently being applied by the fishery industry in preserving the seafood?
In Malaysia?
Malaysia, yes.
I don't see, too much like a cold chain transportation, through the distribution of this seafood. Most of the fishery capture or fishery at capture are from, the near coast. So also I think the people like to have cheaper food. They cannot, or they don't want to spend more money on, high class seafood. So in the raw fish consumption in the Japanese restaurant in Malaysia, mostly we can see only salmon, because the salmon import is in frozen state, not for the local fish. Okay.
Okay.
Even in Japan, they use the bonito, the skipjack tuna for sashimi also. And then this fish usually very cheap here, but they are not in the frozen type. Just put it in the slurry or crush the ice, and probably in the ice for a day long. All the nutrients drip out. So probably some enterprise invest the money on the cold chain.
Because of maybe that kind of technology require high costs.
Yeah.
Mhm. So we proceed to next questions. Is there any regulations applied when it comes to overfishing, and is it bad for our environment?
Yes. Actually, there are so many groups in different oceans for this tuna or migratory fish management. But usually there's regulation on the demersal fish, especially in the area of this triangle coral reef triangle area, Malaysia, Philippines, and Indonesia. The area, the coral reef area, is the spawning ground or the hatching ground for those migratory fish and also demersal fish. And we didn't, in my my understanding, according to my understanding, I didn't see there's such kind of regulation enforced for this small fish in this area. But too much maybe resources, and people are, it's so easy to catch. A small boat can do that. So and also very rich in resources. So there's no such a conservation concept here, I think.
Maybe Malaysian governments have to strengthen the regulations for those extinct seafoods, not those small fish like you say just now.
Yeah, but I have to get into more because I'm just come here for only, and I have friends here who used to be in the Info Fish, the magazine, supported by the United Nations, and also the CIFTEC, and it's located in Penang, in Malaysia. So it's such a fishery information center of the world in Malaysia, but I have to get more to know more about it. I'm unsure, and so rare of the report or papers I can get. This is another reason, to get enough informations.
Yeah, maybe they are because Malaysia not focus so much on marine side. Therefore, there is not much of the research paper on such information. So maybe we can proceed to next question, bro. Um, with the technologies that have developed today, so what are the minimums and the maximum shelf life of the seafood?
Oh, minimum and the maximum. Well, to keep the fish freshness is by low temperature treatment, refrigeration, and freezing, kind of thing, and probably depends on the temperature you used. 1 or 2 weeks for the refrigeration. Okay, also depends on the fish. The composition are different, and for the frozen, can last for 6 months till 1 year. Usually expired after 1 or 2 years. But still, you know, our market is still are selling. Some of the stock has been stored for a couple of years, but just to release for certain market, then it finished just within 1 year. This is another stories, through the steamboat. You here in Hoko, steamboat here you call it, right? Hot pot. And if we
Okay, thanks, Prof. So maybe we go to the last question, Prof.
yeah.
May I know, is there any other distinct difference other than the thawing process in seafood product processed by using high pressure? Is there any difference other than the thawing process in seafood product processed by using high pressure?
You mean high pressure what thawing products? I couldn't follow you the question about.
Maybe I repeat the questions.
All right.
Is there any other distinct difference, maybe the difference for the seafood product processed by using high pressures other than the thawing process?
Thawing? What is thawing?
Maybe Ms.
Sorry.
You can raise your question.
Defrost, you mean? Sorry.
Sorry, Prof. I'm also understanding the question now. Using the high pressure process. May I know, is there any difference other than the thawing process in seafood product process by using the high pressure processing? Maybe she want to know, or she want to know the difference between thawing process and using high pressure and the current technique.
Usually for the industry, they're using freezing methods, high pressure freezing, but not so many industry are using. But for the thawing, usually the industry don't do that. You do the thawing by yourself at home. You buy the frozen products and you can thaw under the running water or put it in the microwave to defrost, defreezing it. Is that the question? The thawing methods, yeah.
Yeah, maybe she want to use some high pressure technique for the thawing process. Yeah.
Well, for the industrial, they want to keep the food, permanent as long as possible, right? After thawing, they cannot refreezing it. So the industry won't do that. Usually the fish is frozen. So the retailer defrost it, right? And put it on the bench for selling, and you buy it, and it's better not to refreeze it, right? It's better to cook it. So the industry won't recover those, already sold, defrost products back to refreeze it. It's impossible. So the family cannot buy this such kind of high pressure machine, in the house to do the thawing process. And microwave can do very well now.
Yeah, I agree with Prof. Cho because if we're using the high pressure technique to defrost our food, maybe require high costs for this.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Prof. Thank you for the sharing, but the time is almost end.
Yes.
So I would like to say a very big thank you to Prof. Cho for the interesting and precious talk. Your valuable sharing is truly appreciated. Thank you again. So to all participants, please continue to stay because we will have a closing ceremony for this 2020 ARIF virtual enhancement.
Okay.
Now we have come to the closing ceremony. Once again, I would like to say good morning to our T-Rex, Dr. Nolis binti Ahmad, Inche Sharimi, Dr. Eddie, Wan Aisha, all the directors, committees, staff, students, and participants of ARIF 2020 virtual enhancement. For your information, our event 2020 ARIF virtual enhancement comes 5 series of webinar. For series 1, participants are being exposed to the graduate marketability in industry by Mr. Andy Sheets. In series 2, according to Madam Tina Kumari, food safety is important, especially in this pandemic era. Dr. Farida binti Hussein said in series 3, MADI is willing to cooperate with higher education institutions in research and development. In series 4, it is a sharing session with the alumna of food technology, Miss Siti Noraini, regarding graduate marketability in nutrition industry. Last but not least, in series 5, the new technologies in seafood packaging and processing by Prof. Cho Hong Nong. Without further ado, I would like to welcome our T-Rex, Dr. Noris binti Ahmad, to deliver her speech and officially close the event of 2020 ARIF Virtual Enhancement. Please welcome Dr. Noris.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Boon. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I would like to say thank you again to Dr. Boon Yin Tian as our moderator today. Dr. Boon, you can hear my voice?
Yes.
Is it clear?
Yes.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good afternoon. Okay, to the respective Prof. Chow Hong Nong, the speaker from National Taiwan University, for a very interesting presentation about seafood packaging and processing. I find it very interesting because I think we're in the same research area also, because I'm in food safety also. So it's really related to us. And all the directors, committees, staff, students, and participants of 2020 ARIF Virtual Enhancement. First of all, I would like to thank the faculties, staff, and students for all their enthusiasm, hard work, and preparation to make this event a successful. And I believe that the committee have put in a great deal of work and carefully planned out to make this 5 series of event come true. It is really, I'm really proud of this effort done by ARIF. And as we know that early this year, the whole world was shocked by a pandemic caused by this virus COVID-19, and due to that reason, a lot of activities cannot be done, including educational activities. However, we should not make it as an excuse to stop all the learning process and also learning activities. So with this technology, we can seek for education knowledge through virtual meeting. For example, like today we have a seminar and it is a good initiative to gain new knowledge and also experiences from outside UiTM. So 2020 ARIF Virtual Enhancement came with a 5 series, as we know, starting from 17 August 2020 for a series 1, and today the last series with Prof. Chow, and the topic that have been discussed were interesting and beneficial to be used in our daily life and in the future, especially among food technologies. And due to everyone's efforts and participation, it has been and unforgettable experience. And I hope everyone takes a good, take away some beneficial knowledge and also wonderful memories throughout the series, throughout the 5 series. And I hope that this kind of event can be continued in future. And thank you again to all of you, and may you be blessed with happiness and joy throughout these 2020 years. And before I end my speech, I officially close the event of 2020 ARIF Virtual Enhancement. With that, I thank you, everyone, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, ARIF. Good job.
Thank you, Dr. Knowledge, for the speech. Before we end our event, we would like to show the video montage of 2020 ARIF Project Enhancement from Series 1 until Series 5. Do enjoy the video.
University Technology Mora. Alliance of Research and Innovation for Food. Food Technology Society. Proudly present to you. ARIF's Virtual Enhancement Series.
Really a very good timing, to remind ourselves about embracing digital transformation.
Cara masak adalah di Julai 70 darjah ke atas lah.
Minuman berasaskan terung asam kaya dengan asid hidroksilat.
You really like something routine or something that requires strict observation, so this might be the suitable industry for you.
With the end of the video marks the end of our event. Before that, to all the participants, kindly turn on your camera for the last photo session. Everyone ready? Okay. informal one. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you so much. So for the audience, please scan the QR code or get the link in the chat box for the attendance and the survey. This link will be available for the next 30 minutes. And we would like to thank you everybody for your cooperation and commitment in making this series successful. Thank you and take care everyone. Bye. So thank you to Prof. Cho and also Dr. Nolis. Thank you, Nolis, for the closing ceremony, and thank you, Prof. Cho, for the such interesting talk.
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Boon.
Thank you, Dr. Nolis.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Dr. Boon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Chow. Thank you, Dr. Nolis, and thank you, Dr. Boon, for the great job. Thank you.